What's up, guys? Welcome to Jaden's New Life. I'm Jaden and I'm an addict. So, I've just returned home from work. It actually looks like it's nearly night time here, but it's the middle of the day. Absolutely terrible rainy day outside. And I thought what not better time to discuss my triggers around a rainy day, and that's mainly due to my job. Well, in the past, I'm actually supervising now, but my job in the past is a scaffolder. We don't work in the rain, and it usually meant that we'd finish early and go to the pub. So when it came to it starting to rain, especially early in recovery, my first thought was of a beer, and starting to get drinking again. But those thoughts and feelings are quite far in between now, but I still do think of it on occasion. I conditioned myself for over 20 years to think that way, so to think 6 years down, well, nearly 6 years down here in recovery, for those thoughts to actually disappear, they don't. They're still there. The thoughts still come, I just don't entertain them. But another thing with a rainy day, I always used to remember at work sneaking off and going into the toilet and getting my crack pipe out, and I wouldn't care if there was people in the stool next to me. I'd make a little coughing noise and light my lighter, and away I went. And so yeah, days like today do make me think about the old days, not in terms that I want to use, but more in terms of that, I remember what my old life used to be like. And yeah, so just really, really grateful. I'm home early today. I get to do some other things that I need to do, so it's pretty good. So another thing I wanted to talk about today with you guys is we always hear to look at the similarities and not the differences. Early on, when I come into recovery and came into the rooms, I used to listen to other people's stories, and I did think other people's stories were not like mine. I didn't really think people had been to the depths that I'd been, and then again on the other side of the spectrum, I used to look at other people's stories and go far out, like, how's this guy still alive? And I always used to be comparing myself to others, and it took me quite a while to actually realise to look for these similarities and not the differences, And I really woke up when I was in treatment. And, I went to treatment for 5 months, or nearly 5 months. And, I've spoken about it before. It took me 20 years to get to that point. And I knew I was in there for that time, and I really wanted to make use of every single hour I had in there. And when it came to these process groups, we all got split up. Like in our treatment centre, in our rehab, there was about at least 50 residents at a time. But we used to get split up into groups of like 10 or 15. And in these process groups, the facilitator would usually choose one person and would do the majority of that group session with that one person. And there was the beauty of having a therapeutic community. It wasn't just the facilitator that did the work there. It was all of us addicts as well. They used to join in and give our 2 cents worth, which was amazing because we all understood each other more than anyone else could. So, but yeah, I used to get quite, I wanted to put my hand up all the time because I wanted the work to be done to me. I wanted the work to be done to me all the time. Yes, that might be selfish, but like I said, I could see, I'd sit there and I could see these other people weren't as dedicated to this process as I was. I was like, why can't we just work on me? Like, I didn't voice that, but that's how I felt most of the time. Until I started to realise, I listened to this one guy's story, and he was saying something about when he betrayed his brother, and I related to that so wickedly. I related to my sister, and I just changed that guy's story around. The little bits and pieces that I blocked out of the story that weren't exactly the same, but I changed the story around to be my story. And I sat there and I listened, and I was like, hang on. And all the feedback that he got from the facilitator and the other addicts in the room, like all of a sudden his process was my process, and I was just like, and it clicked, something just clicked inside of me, and I started to realize, like, this is what they're talking about, looking at the similarities instead of the differences. And from then on, from that day on, every single group session that we had or anything, I could always find something in someone else's story that I could relate to, and then the feedback that they got from that, I took on board for myself. And it really projected every single day that I was there, that I got more and more work on myself. It's another thing on that same subject is that there are these other people that might come to the rooms and they think that their story is insignificant. They might have had a problem with cannabis, and that's their main problem. And for them to look at people like myself with meth addictions and other people with heroin addictions and the rest of it, they think that they're not in the right place. But you've got to think of it. We've all come there for one reason, and that's because we've got to our bottom. And that person's rock bottom is no different to my rock bottom, and my rock bottom is no different to anyone else's rock bottom, for the very simple fact that that person has got to the lowest that they've ever got. It doesn't matter that they're lowest, it doesn't matter how they got there, but it's the lowest that person has ever felt. It was the lowest I had ever felt. It was the lowest the other person's ever felt. And that's why we all share the same, we're all in the same place. So, I know it's hard to not look at other people's stories and see where we fit into them, but there's so much gold nuggets in there to take out of it if you can leave that stuff behind and really get what you can out of other people's stories, and for them to do the same about you. So that's really what I wanted to share about today, the similarities and the differences. And we all ended up in the same place for one reason. We wanted help. We tried every other way. Well, I know I certainly did. I tried every other possible way I could, and nothing else worked. So if you're new to recovery, don't think your story's not important. Your story is important. Everybody's story is important. The best thing is that we're there for each other and we can relate to each other, and this is where we start to build these relationships, and it's one of the most important things in recovery. So today I'll leave that there, and hope you're all doing well out there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel below, and turn on the bell notification. And weekly I come back here and I'll do a video about something about my recovery and how I deal with things. And so just really, really grateful to have half a day off, I suppose, and I can be productive at home and do some other stuff. So I'll leave it there for today. So until next time, I'll see you then. So see ya.